So the grout that I will do is just a grout that goes in between the tiles.
Mm-hmm.
And so, all right, let's go. So let's do an edge detect. Boom. Let's grab our OG base tile again.
Okay. What happened to the render, the 3D view?
Wasn't that? Oh man, it's because of the ambient occlusion.
It went away.
It's a white. No, because before it wasn't outputting it to the 3D view, but when I came back to it, it saw it was there and decided to use it. And because it was automatically, all of these, if there's no color set to them, they're set to black. Except for color, I think.
There you go.
Color is set to, I don't know what color it's set to. Is it set to black? Oh, I guess it's set to black too. So, yeah, automatically they're set to black. So if you have your ambient occlusion output in there and that doesn't have any anything inputting any input into it, you're not going to see anything in it.
Got it.
Be black.
That might be why they don't put it in there. The default, it's black. What's
Maybe.
going on? Help!
Alrighty, so let's see what we got here. Edge detect. Alrighty. Because I'm gonna make this my grout, I don't need these tiles anymore. Obviously, I already have it here.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to do that, I could just use this one.
Yeah.
But I don't want that one. I need to invert it. So you hit the invert true, take off the edge roundness, and now we have our grout shape. Again, based off of the same one tile. Okay. So, who's ready to get dirty? Let's see. Blur. Again, creating depth, creating slope. Anytime I'm doing a blur, that's essentially all that I'm doing, is creating some type of slope. And in the smaller resolutions, like 1024, anything lower than 1024, this is not like what I'm doing with the blur and trying to create a slope. It's not quite as successful in lower resolutions. Just keep that in mind. So that's also why I tend not to go down there, but you can see what it looks like. As you see, it made it fatter and not. It's way different, as you can see. So keep that in mind. You do want to move around in your resolutions a little bit, but I wouldn't kick myself or kill myself to try and make it look good at 512 if I'm shooting for 120 or 1024. Yeah, alrighty. Let's go ahead and blend this back onto itself. Subtract. It's not gonna be that crazy, but that's fine. Okay. Let's just do one. Fractal sum. Now, all of these noises that I use, I mean, you can literally recreate most of these different noises by combining other noises with each other. So when I'm not sure, I do go through this box here and just, try to find some type of grunge or effect here that's gonna get me to where I need to be. Let's see the fractal sum on the blend that onto tile with an overlay. Boom. As you can see, it's just small little, it's not crazy or anything, but just small little differences in the pixels here. It just means everything. It really does. Like as when you try to, you know, if it's too pronounced, it becomes noisy and it doesn't look good. So, you know, introducing these little facets and noise, and you want to make sure you taper it back as well. You know, you do want to shoot for, you know, nice and bumpy, but too bumpy and it screams like CG. Another blend. Fractal. Sun base. And I like some fractal sun base a lot because, especially with the minimum and maximum level, you can create like, you know, varying levels of your noise and push up the roughness of it. You just have a lot of control over how it ends up looking. Oops, let's go blend it back onto there. And well, first off, actually, I'm going to create a histogram scan. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm taking my grout and I'm going to lay over it just some more noise over it to break it up a bit. Blur HQ, here we go. I mean, try to stay organized. I mean, I try, but it's the key word. I try. But trying to keep it, you know, leveled and just, not leveled, but organized and clean, and so you can see your lines. Makes it easier to see how things were done, and if you have to pass this down to somebody else, especially I would assume, since I've never worked in a game company, that it would be important for other people to be able to see your work and have some type of readability, you know. Otherwise, it just turns into like a whole mess of nodes, and it can get real difficult to see what's going on if things aren't in frames. Real difficult. All right. Blur them out. Again, creating some slope. All right, let's do subtract on this one again. Now, if you see this here? Just breaking up the grout a little bit, just so that it's not all the same in every place. Subtle, but you know, it works. All right, let's see. Now let's blend this back. Blend this over here. Let me frame this up. Got it. And blend it back onto our base tile here. Now also, mind you, the grout, this is also another thing that you gotta keep in mind. Let's find a reference. Let's see here. Anywhere, obviously, well, I guess not obviously, but anytime you see these tiles, when they crack off or when they're missing, there's no grout there. The grout that was holding up between the tiles that used to be there is no longer there. It cracks off too. So it's important to know, that it's important to know that. So for my grout here, I don't want it in places where the tile is either missing or it's damaged, like here. So I have to create a mask for that. Let's do it. Here we go. All right, let's take my mask here that I created for my broken or missing tiles here. Let's see. Is that the same? Oh yeah, it is. Okay, cool. I'm going to blend before I do that. Blend. Grab this one here. Right there, and then let's grab our broken. Okay, this is fine. Is that right? Yeah, that's it. Okay, cool. Use that. And I also need my mask. Here. Oh, we got one on there. So you need these extra ones. And using this one here. And let's just do this one, but we'll switch it. And then the mask. Cool. And then I believe that goes. Let's see. Oh, no wonder. Oh, okay. I'm using the wrong. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's use this one. There you go.
Sweet.
As you can see, it just kind of just took off a little bit of the grout there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and some copper. All right, I'll leave it like that for now. That's okay. I'm not mad at that. All right. From here, let me go and toss this into the, so you can see what that looks like. All right. From here, I think we can go into the actual roughness.
Mm-hmm.
And color is like a whole nother thing, but just do roughness. It's weird. You kind of build up the, well, at least my workflow is I try to build up the roughness and the color around the same time.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that match up with color as far as like, you know, if you have dirt across the surface of your tile, it's going to match up. Like the tile is going to be rougher where the dirt is. So it makes sense that you kind of create them together.
Cool. Do you always work on the height map first, basically? The 2D, the grayscale?
Pretty much, like almost always work on the height map first.
Cool. That's a thing a reoccurring theme I've heard is always just build the grayscale first and then color just lays on top.
Yeah. As realistic as you can get your height map to look, will just make your colors and everything else pop even more.
Got it.
So to create, I'm gonna just get this out a little bit. So I'm gonna add some ambient occlusion. The way that you can create an ambient occlusion map in Substance Designer is they have a node called ambient occlusion. And it takes a height map.
Looks beautiful.
And creates an ambient occlusion map from it. Let's feed that into here. And right away, like I said,
ooh, yeah, nice.
Just that ambient occlusion you get, just, oh man, it just makes it that much more prettier. I need to taper it in a little bit, but I mean, just default, throwing it on there, not bad for sure.
Yeah, what happens if you put a white texture, or do you always, white color, do you always work with it black like this in the 3D viewer?
I try to like stay limited as far as my colors. I mean, I try to keep it very plain because I know like if I can make it look good with like a very plain color, then I know that it'll be fine once I start to add in any little bit of color in there.
Yeah.
But let's see. If I want to add in color, so, well, let me finish what I'm doing first.
Yeah. I like that. Didn't mean to distract. Stay focused.
So I need to taper this in a bit. I mean, I like it, but it's just a little too like messy for an ambient occlusion channel. At least it really only needs to capture the shadow information from the deep cracks and crevices, not like these little small surface details. So come in here, you bring in the depth. If you hit world units true, you can affect it some more. Okay, that's better. I can live with that. So I'll leave that there for now. What I've seen some people do is take the ambient occlusion map and blend it back onto your height map. So let's see which one it is. Oh wait, is that the one without the grout? Why is this one without the grout? Oh, okay. There it goes. Oh, I need to invert that. Is that one? Oh, that is one. Okay, I just had to invert it. Darn me. Alrighty, so as you can see now, my grout is also kind of cut out around where the tile is missing. Sorry, here too, see? Here too.
Yep.
That's kind of weird, but I won't worry about that right now. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Alrighty. So, dirt, okay. So when I'm thinking of roughness and color, usually the first thing I add, obviously, would be the base tile color. So we can do, let's see, blend. Let's do color node. Actually, no, I'll just pull it from here at the top. Color. And I don't know. I don't want to do a crazy color, but let's see. I want to do orange for sure. Yeah, whatever. Pink. Okay. And I showed you a node before, the gradient map. This is essentially whenever you're making a color, like the base color for your material, this is like the #1 thing you're going to use, like for damn near everything. And I'll show you why. So I'm going to take my tiles here. Let's just do down here. And then let's do my color for my grout. So let's say the grout is gray. So interesting. So we already right away have the pink tiles with the gray grout in between it. Let's feed that in and just see what it looks like. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. Okay. Also, if you guys don't know, Control, Shift, right click, and drag, you can move around your environment so that you can kind of see like the surface details. That's what I do constantly, is just like, moving the lights around the surface just to see how the light interacts with it. This becomes more apparent and more important when you're working on roughness. So I have my base color, my pink tiles with that. Now I'm going to create a dirt to go on top of my tiles and grout. So let's see. Inside of Substance Designer, I know that there's a mask builder. It's also in Substance Painter, and it works almost the same way. However, obviously you're connecting nodes and not just throwing it into Substance Painter, but let's see. So this node, the mask builder, requires an ambient occlusion, curvature. I usually don't mess with position or world space normal, but these two I can definitely do because I already have an ambient occlusion and I can make a curvature. So my ambient occlusion, let's go and grab what I have so far for that. Throw that in here, ambient occlusion, and then for my curvature, I'll use a high pass grayscale node. And what this does is essentially, it's kind of like a levels node, only, like I said, it's just one thing to affect, as opposed to levels where you have to move all that stuff around. Which, I mean, I can do it. It just sometimes it's just the easier route is more worthwhile. Let's see here. So let's create curvature. And again, you see, this is why it's important that I did all of the those gradients and the blurs, and you see how it's rounded out and not just a flat tile. This all helps to create the illusion of depth. So let's feed that into our curvature and the mask builder. All right, cool. It creates a cool little mask for us, just based on those two nodes. And we affect it. And I'm not a big fan of the grunge that it's doing, so I'm going to create my own with a fractal sum base. Oh no, do fractal sum one. Oops. Practice on one. Blend it with a grunge. Let's see here. Grunge. 7. And cool. Let's feed that. Our mask builder has a grunge input. Feed that in there. Then you have to come in here and enable your custom grunge. Use custom grunge, true. Awesome, cool. Now, let's see. Now to get the exact effect I did on mine, it'll take a little minute since there's so many options here and I didn't write down all of the options, so I'm just gonna approximate it. That one. Curvature. Turn that down. Low range, pretty high. That's decent enough for now. That's fine. Okay. So I'm going to throw this back into a blur. Again, creating slope. Just helps to create that extra illusion since nothing in real life is super sharp, at least not to our eyes. And then we'll blend that back onto our base tile. So let's see.